Thanks for staying with us. Let's get the details. Now, leadership of Guta and Nigerian traders are currently locked up in a meeting with a task force set up by government to resolve the impasse between the two feuding groups in the Swami spare parts hub. Some Nigerians have opened their shops today following discussions with government task force instituted to settle the feud between Ghanaian spare parts dealers and foreign retailers in Kumasi. Last night, the task force, comprising of representatives of BNI, National Security, Immigration, Police and the Ghana Standards Authority, have been mandated to check permits of foreign nationals as well as products that are being sold. Guta intensified their protests to rid the local market of foreigners. Attempts by local police to get both parties to reach a truce failed, as the local spare parts dealers vowed to ensure the foreigners leave the retail market in accordance with the law. We will speak to the National Welfare Director of Guta, Mr. Yeboah. But first, take a listen to some Ghanaian traders speaking on the matter. We'll bring you that shortly, but let's speak to Benjamin Yeboah. Mr. Yeboah, thanks for joining us. What are your expectations ahead of this meeting?
Well, Baba, thank you too for having me this afternoon. Well, our expectations are so clear and simple, in the sense that all these years we've been fighting that these laws be implemented, or for those flouting them to be checked. Unfortunately, we had the situation that popped up in Kumasi, Swami Magazine area, to be precise. Now, what we know is that the task force has been set up there, comprising of those institutions you mentioned, plus even more. And what they are going to do, or what they've even started doing, is to check and make sure that anyone who is flouting the law is checked. I mean, definitely, if you're a foreigner and you are here doing any trade, we should know your status here. And therefore, we hope and pray that they will continue with the good job that they are doing there and make sure that those flouting the laws are checked. That is our ultimate expectation.
Mr. Yeboah, in the past few weeks, your members have taken the laws into their own hands. They themselves have gone around checking the statuses of these foreigners and they have thrown them out of their shops. Don't you think those members should be brought to book?
Yeah, it was quite unfortunate, but that was brought on by the Ministry of Trade itself. Because we had a system in place. There was a committee that was working towards making sure that all these things that they expect to check would be followed. They had their roadmap, and the committee actually set a deadline of 27 July. And we're all hoping that after the 27 July, the committee would set its operation into process. That was what we expected until just about 2 or 3 days to the time there was a suspension of the deadline. And that brought that agitation. It was quite unfortunate because then our members felt that the hope that they had that something was in place to check these things after all these years has been erased. And that was what happened. So it was quite unfortunate. But then it was a signal to institutions and government that we should all be careful that we follow due process, or we follow what we've all agreed to. So
Mr. Yeboah, as the head of an organization, Mr. Yeboah, as the head of an organization, are you justifying the actions by your members? You are saying that going forward, people should be careful to implement what has been agreed, else the people can take the laws into their own hands?
No, you see, it tells you how delicate and sensitive the situation is. For all these years, we've been trying to calm our members, speaking to them, at times they pointing accusing fingers at us as if we are colluding with authorities. So it is very delicate. So you do everything, you do it with our involvement. So if you take any unilateral decision without our knowledge, that is what you get. So it's a very dicey situation. And as much as we will try and tell our members to keep calm, we also tell government or any of the institutions involved to be careful of whatever they put out, so it doesn't ignite anything that will be difficult to, check.
As an institution that abides by the rule of law, would you call for the arrest of these members of yours who flouted what the laws say?
the way the situation is almost a tricky situation calling for the arrest of anything. That's where our problem is. Rather, we are trying to calm them down, make sure that they allow the institutions to work.
Are you suggesting that your members cannot be controlled?
To any person for whatever that has gone on. But they should also know that ignorance of the law is no excuse.
Are you suggesting that your members cannot be controlled?
It's not that they cannot be controlled. My brother has been for about 18 years that we've been talking about this. Government can come and go. There have been task forces and all that. So what do you think the people begin to think? They begin to think that, look, we're being taken for a ride. Our businesses are going out. We are losing our revenue. We are losing our capital. We are being pushed out of the market. So if so many years of up and downs and we have been trying to hold them, we've done very well. We just hope and pray that the institutions that are mandated to work, does their work. What they are doing in Swami now, later you will get to know more of what they wrote there. It tells you that our institutions have been sleeping. If you've been sleeping, do you know what can bring about in the near future? You should wake up and work. That's why we pay them with our taxpayers' money.
Mr. Eboa.
I'm listening.
Not too long ago, Ghanaians and other Africans living in South Africa were chased out. They were living in danger of their lives. Some Ghanaians died. How different are your members who cannot live with members of other nationalities from these South Africans who were carrying out these xenophobic attacks?
No, that is why we've been warning governments upon governments that the whole situation is very dicey and very delicate. And therefore, they should wake up and work. Living with other nationals has never been a problem with us. The point is that we are talking about those illegally operating within the system. If you are doing something illegal, you should be checked by the law. But if those enforcers are not doing their work, what do you expect the citizens to do? And that is where the danger comes in. So all these are signs that those who are supposed to enforce the law should be up and doing their job to prevent any unfortunate situations like this.
Thank you very much for your time, Mr. Beneboa. Let's speak to Prince up here, who has been following the meeting between the task force, Guta, and the foreign traders. Prince, has the meeting ended, and what was the outcome?
So the meeting ended. Listen.
Prince, if you can please reposition yourself, we can hardly hear you. We want to know what the outcome of the meeting was.
So, was that and the task force are supposed to get into the Swami magazine enclave and demand the necessary documents required of traders, the Nigerian traders, not only them, but other foreign traders in the country, which allows them to do trade. Now, this is the setup of the committee. There is someone from the Ghana Standards Authority who is checking the quality or the standard of the product that these traders are engaging into. They want to see if it meets the international standards. Now, there is a GRE there. They are also checking whether they are complying with the tax regulations and whether they are doing what they are expected of them. Their police is there. The test is also there. Immigration is also part of the committee, and they are also checking whether they have the necessary documents in the country. And they are checking their passports, whether it is expired. And there are other, the national security is also part of the committee. So, and then the GIPC also checking whether they have the certification to trade in this retail market, or whether they have the documentation to trade. So that is what is going on now. And the task force is currently in the Swami magazine enclave checking all these things. And what happens is that some of the shops, when they get there, they take some of the products and then they confiscate them. What they tell us is that they are taking it to a class to test whether they meet the necessary required standards to be sold in the market of Ghana. So, Daniel,
have they stated clearly, categorically, if they will be sending out foreign traders who do not have the required paperwork and when this will be taking place? Have they stated that categorically?
Daniel, they've not stated that categorically. What they are doing is that they are trying to ensure that these traders will not don't have the documents. They ask you to, they give you some time, pay to do that, and I'm sure that after that, the necessary directions will come, but they've not stated whether they are going to ask this person to leave the country to their country. That has not come out, Daniel.
Do we have any indication if this action extends beyond Nigerian nationals? I know there are people of other nationalities, sometimes even Chinese, who take part in this retail market in Ghana, this retail trade in Ghana. Do we have any such indication?
Can you come again, Daniel?
I am asking if they have given any indication that this action will be extended beyond Nigerians. What of Chinese? What of Gabonese? What of other nationals?
Okay, so what the leadership of the task force is telling us is that they are not looking at only Nigerian nationals, they are looking at foreign trade nationals in the country. Now they are restricted to the foreign market, and they move to other fields. So they need to answer at the time. But what they tell us is that it's not restricted.
Right.
Only Nigerian nationals.
Right. Thank you very much, Mr. Pia, for joining us with that update. Now, moving on, it's been 6 months since unalleged shooting left 4 people dead and many others wounded at Fuase in the Ashanti region. Police and other security agencies had been called in to disperse protesters who are demonstrating over the relocation of Achuma Kwauma district capital to Chedie. Some of the wounded victims have become incapacitated and a burden on their families. Nane Aljima visited some of the injured and filed this report.
27-year-old Kwame Nsia was shot twice in the back and arm 6 months ago. Now bedridden, he looks frail, his legs barely able to move. He wishes to die.
I prefer God calls me to eternity because I have become a burden to my family. I cannot live like this forever. It is too painful. My parents are poor people, and because of that, I stayed out of trouble. But here am I today. If God gives me 100 years, can I continue like this? My brother is now stuck home with me. He is not working. They are all suffering.
He lies on a pair of student mattresses, a piece of cloth over his waist, and a urine bag beside him. He takes solace in reading the Bible. Kwame tells me he is unable to control his urine and stool. He speculates his condition may have worsened after his medical folder disappeared at the Konfanochi Teaching Hospital. Another victim, Michael Jemfi, who until the day of the incident was actively engaged in buying and selling. He is now incapacitated and walks with the aid of a stick. His wife has abandoned him with 2 children.
All I want is to get well again so I can go back to work. I have stopped going to the hospital for treatment because I cannot afford it. I have no joy now. I depend on benevolence of others to survive as well as my children. A father of one of the victims sometimes helps me with gari and sugar. I cannot survive like this.
One of the deceased victims, Kwajofori, left behind a wife and 4 children who have now become a burden for the community. Concerned citizens of Fuase say they will not bury their dead until the committee's report is made public. Already, a debt of over 90,000 cedis remains unpaid after the community committed about 40,000 to defray hospital bills of victims. Professor Peter Jau is leader of the group.
Initially, they were giving only 1 month for the report. It was set up on 9th of April, and today is 15th of August.
So what are you expecting the report to carry? What are some of the provisions you expect that will be made in the report?
I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but we anticipate that they will find out those who were responsible for the shooting incident.
Ashanti Region Minister Simon Osei-Mensah explains why the report has delayed.
It's ready. We submitted the report to the Minister for National Security. We are waiting response from them. The directive that they will give will indicate the next move. So we are waiting for their directive.
Nane Aljima reporting.
The DCE for Central Tong, Thomas Moore, would be visiting Mafia Kokopo community to have first-hand knowledge of the situation regarding what we at Joy News term as the world's dirtiest water. This follows our broadcast of lack of potable water in that community, where the residents are forced to practically drink muddy water. Information available to Joy News indicates that he would be the first DCE to visit Akokopo since 1992. That's 26 good years since the people started voting to choose a leader to ensure development in their community. So what have the past DCEs been doing in that community, and why has it taken this long for the people to access such a basic social amenity? Let's get onto the phone lines now and speak with an assembly member of Mafi Zongo electoral area, Julius Carl Fieve, for more. Mr. Fieve, good afternoon. So you say since 1992, no DCE has been to Mefi Akokopo. Is that right? And why have you looked on all these years?
Yes, thank you very much, Daniel, and good afternoon to your viewers out there. It is a fact that since 1992, our government appointees and leaders find it very difficult getting to the community. And maybe probably the interest to go out there is not there. It will also interest you to know that the only time our politicians find their feet in that particular community is during election years. And then when it is closer to elections, they go there and campaign, and they give them all the promises that you can think about. And also on election days, they go there, they carry them, they bring them to the police center, and they exercise their franchise. And after that, then they go back and only resurface after 4 years. So definitely today is the first day that a district chief executive from any of the Tongu district, I mean those times it was North Tongu, now it is Central Tongu, is visiting that particular community.
Right. So Mr. Fieve, what do you expect of this visit?
Yes, I expect that the visit of the DCE will bring a lot of good things. You know, the people are just crying for their voice to be heard. They are crying for water. They are crying for electricity. They are crying for antenatal care. They are crying for roads. And I believe that this visit shouldn't be just maybe a normal rhetoric where we have government appointees visiting communities and never delivering on it. We expect that at the end of the day, this should be practicalized. I spoke with the DCA yesterday, and he also spoke on some of your networks, other radio stations, and he promised providing the people with polytanks by Monday. We are expecting that. We are expecting also that the road will be awarded, just as he has promised. The road will be awarded, and within the shortest possible time, the road is going to be to be constructed. Right,
Mr. Fieve, as an elected assembly member, the people could basically say the same about you, isn't it? You have been assemblyman for a while. There have been assemblymen before you. But these challenges still persist. What are you going to do differently this time to ensure that these amenities are delivered?
You know that I became an assembly member just October 2015, and I've been thinking about this situation. I've written so much to a lot of organizations, to the assembly. I've engaged them so much, and we're not seeing anything out of it. And that informed this decision to go innovatively, to involve the media, to get attention. And I am believing that the attention that we have gotten or we are getting from Friday last week that the issue cropped up, even tells you the innovative, even tells you the solutions that we are getting. So it tells you that as an assembly member, I've been a different assembly member. I've gone differently from the way others have done. I've thought disruptively, and I've been very innovative in finding solutions to their challenge.
Very much, Mr. Fieve, for joining us. Right, you're still watching Joy News today. We just got a new statement coming in from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs when it comes to this issue of the impasse between foreign traders and Ghanaian traders in some parts of the country. I'm going to read that to you now. It says, on the issue of the recent brouhaha between Ghanaian traders and traders from other countries following the recent eviction notice issued by the Ministry of Trade and Industry to foreigners in the retail sector, Honorable Shirley Ayoko Boche assured the Nigerian Foreign Minister that the measure was not targeted as Nigerians or ECOWAS citizens. She emphasized that as a signatory to the ECOWAS protocol on free movement of persons, residents and establishment, Ghana was fully committed to the provisions of the protocol and would therefore not pursue policies that would either derail the progress made in terms of regional integration or endanger the lives of fellow ECOWAS citizens. She informed the Nigerian Foreign Minister that His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, President of the Republic, had held discussions with the leadership of the Traders Association in Ghana to de-escalate the tensions that had arisen following the earlier notice of eviction. Expect more on these stories in later bulletins. Now, still up ahead in the bulletin, the Health Minister has assured staff of the Tamale Teaching Hospital of adequate security as he implores them to return to work as he cuts short his tour to the central region to go to Tamale to help resolve the issues at hand. This is Joy News Today. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us on Joy News Today. Now, Health Minister Kweku Agyeman-Menu has assured staff of the Tamale Teaching Hospital of adequate security whilst imploring them to return to work and attend to stranded patients. The minister is currently on a tour of the central region and has cut short this trip to rush to Tamale tomorrow to meet the aggrieved staff and the NPP leadership over the attack on the CEO of the hospital.
I spoke to the Interior Minister. And I did speak to the regional minister. In fact, I was engaging him in course of the morning for a very long time. I got assurances. And so in the evening, when we came back from the field, and I read that 6 people had been arrested, I was quite a bit comfortable. It's like the Interior Minister had actually lived to expectation and has done what he assured me he was going to do. If this has happened, their release, I may want to engage and find out the circumstances within which that has happened. So probably after this engagement, I will try and seek audience with the Interior Minister and the Regional Minister to get a feedback as to how come they have been released.
As a result of this, the staff are still not happy, so they are still unwilling to go to work. Most of them are watching you now, and what did you tell them?
I think I'll have to make a very passionate appeal to the staff. I got assurance from the Interior Minister yesterday that human beings, people, workers, professionals in there and property will be protected. I heard from the background he was engaging that they should call the IGP for him. So I believe that the necessary arrangements had been put in place to protect all of you health professionals working in Tamale Teaching Hospital. So there shouldn't be any fear, or you people shouldn't panic. The police may be up to it and try to protect you. I will appeal.
Let's go on the phone lines now and get the latest on the situation. Martina Bugri has been following the situation from the very beginning. Martina, we understand you've been to the hospital and you have been interacting with some patients.
Yes, this morning I was at the hospital. The doctors were still on strike. The various sections were also on strike. And I spoke to some patients and they said that they were hoping that today they would be back. But since they were not there, they were moving to any of the satellite hospitals, that's the West Hospital, the Tamale Central Hospital, and then the SDA Hospital, which are very close to the PTA. And so people who come to the Tamale Teaching Hospital and there's no health care available, these are the other places they would be turning to.
Thank you very much, Martina Bugri, for that report. Now, finally, Parliament's decision to have an in-camera hearing into Ghana's banking crisis has been criticized as a needless waste of time. Speaking on the Super Morning Show on Joy FM this morning, Head of Advocacy and Policy Engagements at the Center for Democratic Development, CDD, Dr. Kojo Asante, said only a public hearing will make the parliamentary probe relevant, as the Economic and Organized Crimes Office, YOCO, and the Bank of Ghana are already investigating events leading to the collapse of 7 banks in 12 months. Last Wednesday, Parliament chose the Finance Committee for the parliamentary inquiry following the 1st August 2018 announcement by the Bank of Ghana that it has set up the Consolidated Bank of Ghana to take over the assets and liabilities of 5 local banks which have collapsed, as did UT and Capital Banks a year ago. There are fears a public probe could further dampen confidence in the system because of more revelations of ongoing. But Dr. Kojo Asante and Executive Director of the Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs, ASEPA, Dr. Rashid Rahman, are of the view a public hearing would rather build confidence in the financial sector.
If Parliament is going to hold this hearing in camera, then they shouldn't do it, because I think that would be a waste of time. They can leave it to the Bank of Ghana and Yoko and all the others that are doing investigations. Because, you see, this is a very a serious issue and of serious public interest. You know, sometimes when you want to purge a system, you need to go through these kinds of processes. Yes, it's not pleasant, but that is also another way of restoring public confidence, so that at least the public at a certain popular level know that people are being held accountable, people are being asked to answer questions. If Parliament is going to do this, they should really think very seriously and do a good job.
If there's any matter that affects a huge majority of Ghanaians in the very recent past, I think it has been the collapse of these banks. So Parliament should do us a big favor by making sure that this matter is discussed in the public domain so that all of us can follow. Honestly, my brother, I think we have to be serious in this country. These banks, directors have decided to flout the rules. The Bank of Ghana said to not do its work properly, and then somebody saying that this is sensitive. I think the sensitivity of it is the fact that all have to know what is happening at every point in time going forward from now.
We took to the streets to ask Ghanaians what they think about the decision by Parliament to have an in-camera probe.
I think that it should be done open, because you know that our constitution, that's 1992 constitution, calls for accountability. Sovereignty lies in the will of the people, and the people gives authority to our state. Now, if the people give you authority and you are not able to account to them, it is a breach of the constitution. And you know, these things, the capital, all these banks that were that the Bank of Ghana is taking up, they are using state funds, they are using taxpayers' money to bail them out. So I think it is important that the Bank of Ghana, especially Parliament that represents the people, should be much open to the people.
I believe I support them if they do it behind closed doors, because there is no essence and there's no reason why they should bring it out. Okay, they are executives. They have been taking their decisions behind closed doors, and I don't think they should do it openly. It's a waste of resource. We know about the story. We know about what is happening. All that we need is a solution. We don't want anyone to be victimized because of this.
All Ghanaians, we all have an interest in what is happening. Since we have our money in bank, and everybody has an interest in what is happening, so it should be open so that we know what is going on. We don't want any fishy investigation. That one, people will be covering something up, and we don't want like that. It should be open.
If everything is done behind closed doors, it will mean that there's something they are hiding from their constituents. So personally, I think it should be done on open camera so that there will be nothing hidden. So
it's with the Ghanaians that we have our monies with these banks.
Well, Sandra Esenam Afenu has more on the banking crisis when she comes with business. Stay with us.